If you want more of a passive investment, look for more people that you can invest with and have other people that are carrying kind of the workload with it. But that's what's great about real estate. You end up with partnerships all over the place that it could be any form or fashion. So if that's the route that you're interested in real estate, just take a jump.
Do something, yeah.
Yeah.
Do something.
Back to the first property that you had flipped, how much did you make on that?
On average, I'd say in Arizona, if we're not talking about the Nebraska ones,
the first one that you did, first ever one.
So the one when I was 16, I think each of us made maybe 10 grand-ish or so.
Each person? Yeah, that's...
Because it was me, I have two older brothers. We inherited a house, all three of us.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was maybe around 10 grand, maybe it's 5 grand. Whatever it was at that time, it was
very impactful, yeah.
Chunk of money, yeah. Being 16 years old.
Yeah.
And that's what really got me addicted. And then from there, again, that college one didn't make shit. And then Arizona finally started to kind of learn and get some traction and start to make some money.
Yeah, start to figure out the business, and you're like, all right, now I operate this thing as a business rather than just a kind of hobby on the side.
Yeah. And then the goal is to make money. It's like when you start making money, it's like, oh, this is cool for once. Instead of losing money or breaking even, it's like, hey, I'm actually making some money on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't that what it's all about? It's supposed to be, right? Yeah. That's what I hear. Interesting. Okay.
What about you, bud?
Well, you don't know about me. All right. Really? Yeah. Okay. Well, here we are. This is what we're talking about.
Podcast, I guess.
All right.
Ask each other questions.
For me, man, I was thinking about this. It goes all the way back to, I would do walks with my mom around the neighborhood all the time, and I'd be walking around, and there's like our house. We were in a nice neighborhood, but we were, probably the shittiest house on, a really nice neighborhood or whatever. So I'd always look at the other houses and say, like, man, what do these people do? What do these people do? How did they get to that point?
For sure.
And far too often, somebody would just come, like my mom would say, oh, they're in commercial real estate. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know. I'm 8 years old and just walking around and like, oh man, well, I want to, know more about this. How do these people keep doing this? And as I continued to grow and become more knowledgeable, just continued to fascinate me, and just was realizing that this is where I wanted to do. This is what, where I wanted to invest my money. It's better return stock market, more control of my money, everything all around it. So I started reading books. And then, with all things that you learn, you got to just dive in. You got to just, throw everything into the fire. And that's how the best way to learn. At least for me, I want to have a baseline knowledge of some form or fashion, whether that's you talk to people, you read books, you go on Google, you read articles, whatever it is, whatever the topic is. But no matter what, you have to dive in. You have to just get your feet wet and just learn through doing. So that's when, at that point, we had connected through our mutual friend, one of my closest friends growing up.
Gus.
And Gus, man.
Lusky.
Yeah. Gus, also Lusky, Longshanks. And in the end, you were selling basically, turnkey rentals or whatever. Okay, all right. Bought it for... House was $63K.
Yeah.
Omaha, Nebraska. Nothing. Yeah, nothing that I could ever find in California like that. Even a 3-wide trailer is going for $300K at that time. It's probably more at this point. But
how much did that thing rent for when you bought it? You remember?
It was renting for probably like $900, something like that.
About right.
And I was cash flowing more. I got a mortgage on it, so I put $15K down, got a mortgage for the remaining $50, and then was cash flowing at probably $400 a month.
Yeah, that's killer.
So just absolutely crushing it from, oh, this is great. This is, wonderful. There's a property manager out there working on this. And there's been some hiccups along the way, mainly around just management of the property and not being there to see it, and all of those challenges that at some point we'll talk about, just challenges with external property manager, why we have everything internal now.
That's a whole episode for sure.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But anyway, so that property now just appraised at $140K. Still own it. That was 2017. So over doubled in value over the last 5 years.
Between the cash flow and tax benefits, you really haven't done anything to that. You've worked on the property, like rehab the property, not you yourself.
Yeah.
That's been really passive for you, and that's a chunk of money in that amount of time.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it got my feet wet. It got, us connected or whatever, but really just I started to learn the process. And even just the process of buying a property is something that, in my opinion, should be taught in school.
Absolutely.
I don't want to learn about Mediterranean history of the 1800s. I want to learn, how do I buy a house? How do I support my family? How do I, make my life better? And through real estate would be one of those. And buying a house is what most people do at some point in their life. So why you would not teach that is beyond me. Yeah. Anyway,
another episode.
Yeah, another episode. But, nonetheless, it got my feet wet, and eventually, continued to stay very interested in real estate. And then we stayed connected over those next couple years. And then we were having a long conversation one day about, I'm interested to go into multifamily. You were interested to jump from single family into multifamily. And so both of us dove head deep into multifamily, picked up 12-unit building and a 14-unit building in one swoop. And then that year, that was in 2019, we then bought a 12-unit, and then we bought a 24-unit, all in 2019. So 62 doors in 1 year, going from what I had was one door before that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
quite a jump and quite exciting during that time. And then, from there, we continued to optimize. We turned a bunch of those units, picked up a couple properties that were in rough shape. But in the end,
put it nicely.
Yeah, we put it nicely. Yeah. But great price. We picked it up at and turned them.
Yeah.
I flipped that other one, 29th Street, for about 100% gain from what we had bought it at.
Yeah.
So, quite a turnaround in, I guess that was 1.5 year period.
Yeah.
So from there, ended up going to continue to grow our portfolio and jumped into opening up the fund in 2021, Cherrypick Capital. And really the idea there was that we wanted to scale, knew we wanted to pull in outside, investment to be able to continue down that path of growing our portfolio. But also the other piece of that's important is to be able to help friends, family, other folks that don't have access to the deals that we're finding.
Yeah.
You talk about real estate, you talk about stocks. It's so easy to go buy. I could buy Apple stock on my phone today. I can't go buy a property through my phone, a piece of a share or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think the progression is natural to kind of continue that way. But I think the fund in general and funds are really the way to be able to get people together and go buy something bigger and scale. So to me, that was, what we had talked about as far as Cherrypick. I don't know if you want to add anything into.
Yeah, no, I would say when we bought those first apartments, we were raising money at that time from friends and family, but it was
true.
just definitely handshake type deals. We had some paperwork in place with some people. Some learned just, hey, you know me, handshake, this is what we're gonna do, and we pulled through on what we said we're gonna do. But
yeah,
like you're saying, to really scale up, you can't scale up doing handshake types of deals with people. You can with a certain inner circle that you have, but to really get your shit together and scale up, you need to form a fund and be able to raise money the right way per SEC guidelines and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. And so from that, picked up 48-unit property in Fort Madison, Iowa.
Yeah.
Tiny little town in Iowa, incredible returns. And we got our feet wet in Iowa after realizing that a lot of people were migrating into Omaha. Omaha was becoming more saturated.
Yeah.
We'll do another episode on why we like the Midwest and why we think Omaha and Iowa are sexy places to invest.
Sexy, boring places.
Yeah, exactly. But isn't that the sexiest part? It's boring and steady and
Yeah.
cash flows.
Yeah.
So ended up in Fort Madison, Iowa, a beautiful little town, and now acquiring a 94 unit package in Des Moines under Cherrypick Capital. And so just seeing that progression and that scale is exciting. It's fun to see, and excited to see where the future holds for us.
Yeah. It's what you said earlier. You just gotta go out and do it. There's so many people, it's analysis paralysis, just don't do anything. They'll study, listen to 100 podcasts, read 100 books, go to a bunch of seminars, spend a bunch of money, and just not do anything. And what you said earlier about when we bought our first apartment, at that time, I had a pretty good sized single family rental portfolio.
Yeah. How many was that?
It was north of 100 at that time.
Yeah.
So
That's a lot to manage. All of those individual doors, all those different locations.
it's a lot. And I thought I had my shit together. And it's like, oh, I'm going and buying this 12 units. Oh, easy peasy. And it wasn't. There was definitely learning lessons, even buying a small 12 unit apartment complex that was completely different than single family. But never, I could have read we both studied a bunch of stuff on multifamily.
Yeah.
Knew a bunch of people in multifamily space. Like we both thought we knew a lot, and we did. But until you actually get into it and you do it, you don't fully know. And to me, that's the biggest, fastest way to learn, is actually taking action and doing it. So I do gotta commend you a bit. I don't want to give you too much praise ever. Okay.
I will take it. This is the one and only. Here we go, guys.
This is it. First time ever. For you having a full-time job, though, and like taking that first step to actually take action and buy a property, because again, very few people do that. And I still talk to, I'm sure you do now too, talk to a lot of people about, hey, they want to get in real estate, want to find out more about what you do, things like that. Sometimes you'll have those conversations with people for years and they just don't do anything. So yes, biggest thing I would say is just do something.
Yeah.
Send out marketing material, do networking, find partners, do something to get your feet wet, to get your first deal in place. And after that, you start to learn a lot, and it gets a lot more, it gets more comfortable, I should say. It gets more comfortable, gives you confidence to kind of go and do another deal. And then things will, if you keep at it, things definitely will eventually snowball.
Yeah, absolutely. And taking action, that could be whether that's, go out and buy your own property, or, invest with people. I mean, like us, right? Hey, invest in folks like us, or, go buy your property. I mean, whatever route you really want, analyze it, really figure out that, hey, I want to be more of an active investor. I want to go out and, understand the process, go buy something. And awesome, more power to you. Both of us would be first to provide any help, guidance, advice, any of the above, but if you want more of a passive investment, look for more people that you can invest with, and have other people that are carrying kind of the workload with it. But that's what's great about real estate. You end up with partnerships all over the place, that it could be any form or fashion.
Absolutely.
So if that's the route that you're interested in real estate, just take a jump.
Do something,
Yeah.
Do something.